Do we have any boxes at all, my lovely? That I can borrow to steal your things. Oh yeah, the ones I took earlier. No, because I need to pack my things, so I wonder if we have any empty spare boxes.
The firm's family law team, already stretched,
No,
is about to be a solicitor down because Gill Kershaw has decided to leave.
Cheers, darling, for the purpose of filming.
What's the main thing you're going to miss then, out of everything?
The people, definitely. Definitely the people I work with. Yeah, definitely.
Who's your favourite person here? And why?
Oh, I don't think I could say who's the favourite person. Oh, everybody equally. I love them all. The clients. No, I'll probably miss some of the clients as well, actually, which is sounds a bit strange, but yeah, I probably will do, actually. I want to know how the cases get on and how they conclude, yeah. But I'll keep in touch with everybody here, whether they like it or not, so I shall stay in touch, definitely. I think what would certainly make the job less stressful and easier would be the resources in place to be able to actually afford more admin staff to take the pressure off, to actually make your job a bit more efficient in a sense. There is so much administration in a solicitor's job, especially a legal aid solicitor's job, that you spend probably 80% of your time doing admin. And obviously, if you could afford to have some assistance there, you'd be able to spend more of your time doing what you've qualified to do, and that's helping people and advising people and resolving cases quicker, which I think in the long run would probably be cheaper, actually. I think it's a false economy that they cut back so much so that firms are left with no other choice than to do everything themselves, and they can't afford the staff to sort out other areas like administration.
We need to find somebody as quickly as possible. Gill's due to leave sort of towards the end of April. We're lucky in that it's quite difficult for people to find training contracts and what have you. We've actually got a number of CVs on file, and we'll start by looking at some of those people to find out whether or not they'd be suitable. If obviously, you know, somebody is suitable, then we would look to maybe appoint them in Gill's role. If there isn't anybody who's suitable, obviously we'd look to advertise. Hopefully we'll be able to find somebody quite quickly, because if not, it will have an impact on everybody else in the office, in that the files that Gill has that she's supervised on will have to go to other fee earners, and that will have an impact really on them.
Do you want a drink, darling?
Are you leaving?
Yeah. I didn't tell you. Shit. Sorry, Matt, but never mind. I'm sure you'll manage quite easily without me there. Yep.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. You're right.
Gill's departure means there's a vacancy in family law, so a series of interviews is held to fill the post.
I'm here today to be interviewed for the position of a trainee solicitor.
I've come for an interview, and it's for hopefully for a training contract, stroke legal exec position, and I'm being interviewed by Matthew Entwistle.
I'm here today to have an interview with Tranters Solicitors in Northern with the family law department.
Hi, is it Jenny O'Neill?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Matthew O'Neill. Nice to meet you. Do you want to come through? Hi, is it Andrew?
Yeah.
Hi. Nice to meet you. I'm Matthew O'Neill.
Hi, Andrew.
Jill Molloy.
Hi, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, you okay? Yeah. Sorry to keep you waiting.
No
Is it Adam?
It is, yeah.
I'm Matthew. I'll be interviewing you today. I'd just like to come in here.
Good, thank you.
We'll be in touch as soon as possible.
Okay,
All right,
bye.
cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Right, cheers. We'll be in touch. All right, thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for coming out. All right, we'll be in touch as soon as possible.
Nice
All right.
to meet you. Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So what's it going to be now, the process for you two?
We're going to, I hope we agree.
Yeah, that'd be the first thing. Obviously, I hope we agree, and we need to sit down and discuss sort of the different aspects, such as, you know, experience and the attributes that each candidate had, and sort of come to the fairest decision we can.
And obviously we have to consider whether they would be suitable for the office as well. So, you know.
Is it going to be a difficult decision?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was one of those interviews which you enjoyed. I actually liked it. You know, very friendly. You know, it's very difficult to say. I have no idea how, you know, I don't know if I did well enough on maybe the legal questions but I just, you know, wait and see what happens. I'm a bit exhausted now.
Next time on Wythenshawe Law, the compensation claim that could affect this young woman's entire life. and a typical night shift for solicitors on call. If you'd like more information about the issues raised in this programme, go to our website, grenadatv.com, where you can get our fact sheet.
But right now we continue our series on life for solicitors in one of Manchester's toughest areas, Wythenshawe Law.
It's Friday night, and trainee solicitor Phil Barnes is on night duty.
Hello again.
He can get a call out at any time, usually to go to a police station to sort out an arrest.
Well, I don't really know a great deal about the case to actually get in. All I've been told by the police is that it's a forgery and handling stolen goods. I know the chap's name. That's about as much as I know at the moment until I get in there and find out what the police say and have a chat to him and see what he says. That's as much as you ever know when you turn up. You just find it out as you go along, really.
So what's the process when you go in now? What will happen?
I'll go in and check his custody record and so on, check that everything's been done properly with him since he arrived. I'll have a quick chat with the custody officer, see if there's anything unusual. Then I'll go in with the officer in the case. I'll have disclosure of the prosecution evidence as it stands. I'll then go in, on the basis of that, speak to the client, find out his version of events as compared to the prosecution version of events, or the police's version of events, and on the basis of what he tells me and what they've told me, I'll advise him on how to deal with the interview. Then I'll deal with whether he gets charged, rebailed, no further action, released, remanded, and we'll be back out here again. Whether or not I've got a chap alongside me is very much dependent on what happens in there.
Trainees like Phil, who earn about 14 grand a year, get an extra 50 quid for doing a night shift call-out.
When you're ready, it's all good. It's best when they do this when it's pissing it down. That's when I really love it.
Greater Manchester Police, unhappy about the filming we've been doing for the series, have barred us from every police station in the area, so we're forced to wait outside.
You're on CCTV in the charge office, by the way, so I can see the sergeant saying, "You can't bring that thing in." Told you they might be like that. See you later.
Section C1 allegations, police version. On Monday the 16th of February, both defendants went to the AP's house by...
As Phil goes to speak to the alleged forger, fellow trainee Matt Wallace is waiting for his first call-out.
His girlfriend, if they wanted to stay the night in the spare room, stop.
Start again, how many shifts you do?
At the moment I do 14 a month, which is, it's more or less every 1 day out of 2, so it's quite a lot of days. I mean, the shift's quite long as well. It's from 4:30 till 7:30 in the morning. But again, when it's quiet, you do get to sit at home and not do a lot, and it's not exactly strenuous. Whereas when it's busy, then you're out all the time, and it's quite tiring. But I think it's a good idea to have the night team because, and as you can see now, it's what, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'm still wide awake. So at least if I do get called out, I'll be fresh and be able to, be able to concentrate and do everything properly.
Back at Longsight Police Station, there's an update on Phil's client.
Yeah, I've been in about 2.5 hours on a chap who I thought originally it was a deception job and a forgery, but it's actually a theft. It's just a fairly simple shoplift. They're just doing the last couple of things with him now. He's been charged and bailed and being caught on Wednesday. Fairly straightforward, really. It's just that these things always take time. So you imagine when you get a more serious, more complicated case, we're in there for a good few hours.
So how have you spent your time in there then? Is it usually a lot of waiting around? And...
It's not so much waiting around. Once you get in, like I said before, you speak to the officers, they tell you about the case. You ask them any questions you want to until you feel like you've got enough information to advise. You go and tell the client what the officers are saying, what statements they've got, what the evidence against the client is, basically, and ask them for their version of events. Now, sometimes they'll say to you, yeah, I did it, fair enough. Sometimes they'll come up with some story, sometimes they'll tell you, whatever. It's different in every case. And on the basis of that, you have to then decide whether or not they should be putting that defence forward in interview, or whether they should be remaining quiet in interview.
And do you find that the police are cooperative, or can they be a bit of a pain?
99 times out of 100, they're absolutely fine. They're doing a job, you're doing a job. Just, funnily enough, one of the officers inside has just said to me now, the only bit he doesn't like is when we're in interview. They've got a job to do, I've got a job to do. And you will find if they ask a question that you don't think is appropriate, or you think that they're not really asking a question, they're more asserting. And one of the things I do try and do sometimes is lean on them slightly to speak when they're not speaking. And he said that's the only time when you really feel any confrontation. 99 times out of 100, they're absolutely fine. I think really gone are the days when they used to sort of have us there under sufferance. They now accept that we've got a job to do, that people have rights to be defended, and ultimately if a case is cast iron and watertight, then it will be regardless of what happens in there.
Meanwhile, Matt has a call out for a bizarre burglary case involving a teenage client.
Basically, it involves him and also his co-accused, who was represented by another solicitors. The brief circumstances are that he was staying as a guest in a flat where he went over to stay with one of his friends, and during the evening, this friend of his revealed to him something about him, about previously stealing a mobile phone, which my client got the blame for amongst the group of friends. And sort of to get his revenge for that, he decided that he would then wait till the lad fell asleep, go into his room and steal his phones. So then he did that and got up to the back window along with his other friend, if you can follow all this, and they all got off.
You said it was you said it's your fault, you've done it.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you?
Just don't do it again. Go to court, get it all sorted out, and just don't do it again,
When did they tell you to go back to court?
Friday.
Do you know which court you're going to?
It says that on a piece of paper what I got. You are? Yeah, Crown Court.
Well, unfortunately, the police computer wouldn't accept somebody being cautioned for a burglary of a dwelling, because it's an offence of such a serious nature that the police would normally charge them for it. So he will have to be charged, although there's a chance that he can still obtain a caution from the magistrates once it's explained to them, and they may be able to send him back to the police station as a sentence to receive a caution rather than have a sentence imposed by them, which hopefully we'll be able to get for him. And it seems it's quite likely, and the sergeant's intimated that that's what he feels should happen, and that he's going to put that forward on the file.
So the long and short of it is that his things aren't finished here, things can move on to the next stage.
Yeah, basically, now because he didn't, if he'd have been cautioned here, that would have been done and dusted and he wouldn't have had to come back again. But now he's been given a court date, which is on Friday, and he's going to have to go to court on Friday and basically plead guilty to the offence, and then we'll put forward in mitigation the fact that this is, a very minor burglary, as it were, and we would hope that he would receive a caution as his sentence rather than, as we were hoping to get in the police station, rather than a more serious sentence, because then he wouldn't have any convictions on his record, and he wouldn't have to report it for jobs and different things like that, whereas otherwise if he did have a conviction then he would have to do so.
Phil Barnes' next port of call is a deception case at Manchester Airport.
I am, I've just got to the airport now.
The airport has its own force and police station.
Well, I would have got to the airport now, except I don't actually know where the airport's police station is, because I've never been to it before. I'm behind, the Crown Plaza Hotel. Terminal 3. Right, I was on the right track then.
What happened then, Phil?
Two chaps in for a deception. Basically, it's an old con trick, confusing a cashier with notes and change, and basically getting back more than you're entitled to. One of them, they started to interview him, and he was basically sort of an interview, and the officers were starting to nudge him, and the officers then decided that they weren't going to interview him because he blatantly wasn't fit. I think he was all right when he was in with me, but then he started to be sort of dropping off in interview, and the officers weren't happy with it. So they're going to interview him in the morning, so somebody will have to come back on that in the morning. I think it'll probably be after I've come off, so it won't be me. The other chap came in and was, well, for professional reasons, I've withdrawn anyway. I think that probably the pair of them aren't singing from the same hymn sheet. Their stories don't tally, and whichever one may or may not be telling the truth. It's impossible for me professionally to represent both of them in their best interests. So the second one, having had a half an hour chat with him and find out exactly what he was saying, I've told the police to refer him back to the duty call centre and get somebody else down on him.
And for yourself, what's happening for you now?
I am going to turn my phones back on and check in with the duty solicitors and see if there's anything else on the go that I need to go out to, and if not, I'm going to go home and I'm going to arrange for somebody to come back to this guy at 11 in the morning for when he's going to be interviewed.
Back home, Matt calls in his job so it can be picked up by his office manager in the morning.
Hello Jackie, I've been dealing with Shane Ingram. He's 17. He's been charged with a burglary of a dwelling. He's in at Manchester Magistrates Court on Friday the 27th, the 2nd, 04 at 9:45 a.m. He's been signed up on all legal aid documentation. And that's it, thank you.
And that's it?
Yeah.
So what do you do from now onwards?
I now have to take this file so it can be drop this file off at the office so it can be dealt with in the morning, and then I'll wait by the phone and occupy myself until I get another call, basically, or if I don't get another call until 7:30, whichever comes sooner.
Hello? It is, yeah, hi.
Trainee Phil Barnes is on night duty for Tranters Solicitors of Wythenshawe. He can be called out at any time of the night to go to any police station.
It's 1:20 now. I'll be there by about 2 o'clock. All right, thanks a lot. Okay, bye. Long sight it is. It's nearly 2 in the morning, and we've got a chap in here who's in for theft of a tax disc from a car. Pretty much all I know, other than the fact that he needs an interpreter who doesn't speak English very well, so this will be interesting, shall we say, because they just take twice as long when they need interpreters. Everything I say, he has to be told in another language. Everything he says, I have to be told in another language. Of course, the same goes for the police as well, so it tends to take a while. But 2 o'clock, be done by 5 on an optimistic estimate. Doubtless they'll send me somewhere else.
It's nearly dawn by the time Phil's finished with the case.
A big fat load of nothing. He had an interpreter, so it took a little bit longer than it would have done normally to sort of get it out of the way. But we got him through the interview, asked for it to be referred to the CPS. Great Manchester are running a scheme now where they fire all their potential charge or bail decisions to the CPS by fax. It comes online on the 8th of March, I think, a few days from now, but this station are running it already this weekend. CPS faxed them back within about 5 minutes and said there's not enough evidence to sustain a charge, so let him go. So good result all round, really. Nice end to the evening. And hopefully, at what, 4:30, something like that now, that'll be the end of it, and I can go home and have some sleep.
During the night shift, we saw teenager Shane Ingram released after nearly 10 hours in the cells on a burglary charge.
I asked him for a cup of tea when I first went in there, and he had to wait. So what time was it, UK?
I arrived at about 7 o'clock.
I had to wait about 6 hours for a cup of tea. I kept asking him and they kept saying, yeah, they'll bring it in a minute.
Today he's in court with advocate Michelle Denney.
But at the moment he's charged with a burglary, and on the balance of the evidence, we would say that it's probably more likely to be a theft. He admits he's taken some items, but he doesn't really admit the trespass part, which you would need for a burglary. The CPS may take a lesser plea. They may try and argue that it's a burglary because he's gone into part of a house he shouldn't have been in. So we've adjourned it by agreement with the CPS so that we can write to them along with his co-accused solicitor and ask whether they'll accept a plea to a theft instead.
Stood up, said our name and address, and then told us to sit. Then randomly my mate solicitor stood up and asked for it to be adjourned while they try and get it down from a burglary to a theft. Yeah.
What would that mean if they were to do that? Is that a lesser punishment?
Yeah, that means they can't take it to the higher courts.
You've been here quite a while, haven't you? What was it like?
It was nice seeing all my old mates.
Did you see some people you knew?
Seen about 10 people.
Do you think it seems quite a lot for kind of taking his mate's mobile phone?
You have to look at what they've done, and it is still a burglary. A burglary is just straightforward. It's a theft, and people get confused a lot of the time about what's a theft and what's a burglary. It's a theft, but he is in somebody else's house where he shouldn't be. You have to look at what the value of the goods are, and if the court decide to deal with it as a burglary, they'll look at what the gravity of the offence is now, what the value of the goods are, what the aggravating and mitigating features are before deciding how to sentence it. And they may still well deal with it at this court rather than send it to the Crown Court, which traditionally they would do for a dwelling house burglary.
Trainee solicitor Phil Barnes, now fully rested, has site visits to deal with, checking witness statements at the scene of incidents to act as defence material in criminal cases.
Yeah, we're going to go out to Heel Green, out towards Wythenshawe, which is the scene of two separate incidents that I've got files for at the moment. One is a young chap who's been, or supposed to have been riding a motorcycle without a helmet, ironically enough, and the other one is a criminal damage to the front of a shop. We're going to go out, check the scene, check for the views that witnesses would have had, particularly in relation to the guy on the motorbike. There's an issue in the case as to whether or not he was actually on a road, because you're not obliged to wear a helmet unless you're on a public road or in a public place. So there's a bit of an issue in the case. We'll go and check for signs of whether or not we think it's a public road and whether we think it's arguable that the riding wasn't actually taking place on a road.
How are we getting there today?
Yes, I've alluded to my preferred mode of transport sometimes for site visits, especially when they're town centre ones, or when you're stopping and starting and taking pictures all the time. Keep finding places to park the car is a pain. So with the bike, I can just sort of pick up at the side of the road, take my gloves off, whip a camera out of my bag, take a few photos, make a few notes, move on, do the next thing. It makes site visits about 20 minutes shorter. In every event where they would take an hour in the car, they take me 45 minutes, half an hour on the bike. So I try and do them on the bike when I can.
Back at the office, and Robert Jones from Personal Injury is here to meet Jennifer Wieczorek, a former airport waitress who's had an accident at work. A big payout could make a big difference to Jennifer, who's about to start university.
I work at the airport, and he was working in a cafe, and I was actually asked to work in the kitchen because they were short-staffed. So I agreed reluctantly to go and work in the kitchen, and I was carrying some old tomatoes to go and throw in the waste disposal, and I just slipped on the floor and I fell and I banged my cheek and my shoulder, and a metal bin fell on top of me as well.
So how was it you slipped? You said the floor was wet?
Yeah, the floor was wet and there was no wet floor sign up.
Your injuries are still ongoing, and we're about 8 months after the accident. I would suggest that you be seen by an orthopaedic consultant. Now, I've already, something like the PT is one I made earlier, I've nominated some experts to the other side already. I've nominated a couple of GPs, a couple of orthopaedic surgeons, and a couple of A&E consultants, so we can pretty much take a pick, and that would be what I would recommend.
Okay. And I still have like day-to-day problems, like carrying school books and things like that, but I take painkillers for things. just get on with it, really.
But as I say, I mean, I'm optimistic that it could be all over by August, September.
Okay.
But I can't promise that, so don't spend the money yet.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Back on the streets now with Phil Barnes, collecting evidence for client cases.
Now we're here. This is the young lad who's supposed to have been on the motorbike, and basically supposed to have been here, where my bike is and where we're standing now. A police officer has come down the main road you see behind you there, which is Fernie Lane, and he's turned left into this road, at which point this pavement area here in front of this bookies, he's seen a young lad on a motorbike with a girl on the back with no helmet on, and we've just come out to have a look, basically decide what we think the officer could have seen, what relevance it has to the case, whether or not it counts as a public road, which I think we're not going to have too much difficulty deciding that it probably did. Get a few photographs, let the solicitor then decide what's important for her at court, what she needs and what she doesn't. So what I'll probably do is pace down the main road just 20 yards or so, see what sort of view you have of the junction. I'll get out into the middle of the road if I can in the traffic and get a picture of the entrance to the junction, and then do that in stages coming down, so what the officer would have seen for this area. He would have been driving on the right hand side of the car, so as he turns left into here, his view is this way. There's nothing to say that the car was obstructing him. It's not the world's most serious or the world's most complicated case, but just got to show that we come out and do it from the sort of the most minor case like this to, you know, the most serious cases we have. This scene can be crucially important, although it doesn't look like it's going to be that significant in this case. So I'll make notes, I'll take photos, I'll draw a little plan. I'll be 20 minutes and we'll be on our way. I'm just going to wait for a gap in the traffic and try and get out and take a shot from in the middle of the road. It's not easy on Fernie Lane. That'll do.
Next, Phil needs to take some discreet photographs at the scene of an alleged criminal damage case.
There's another scene, a different offence, although it happens to be quite close to the one we did earlier, where the shop you can see behind me, and I'm not going to turn around and gesture at it in case they take umbrage, was subject to, or the owner says subject to, criminal damage to the shutters. A lad attacking the shutters and basically damaging them, not cutting holes in them, scratching them, putting dents in them, caused about 200 quid worth of damage, so the owner says. So again, just down, because it's a shop area, you sometimes get CCTV cameras, that kind of thing. I can't see any offhand here, but again, just quickly to have a look at the scene, make sure there's nothing that we would miss unless we came down. Have a 10-minute look around, take a few pictures so the solicitor knows what they're looking at and what the area is like, and then we'll be away again.
Sensing he's been rumbled, Phil decides to make a hasty exit.
Well, at least the guys, the lads shouting out the car over there worked out why we were here anyway. This is the evidence, they go.
Next time on Wythenshawe Law, lawyers on the air at Wythenshawe FM, and the man arrested on suspicion of stealing meat and Russian rubles. If you'd like more information about the issues raised in this programme, go to our website, grenadatv.com, where you can get our fact sheet.
Night, 7:05. Now on ITV1 though, it's Wythenshawe Law.
This week, Wythenshawe-based solicitors Tranters have come to Wilmslow in Cheshire to represent a client. The case? Stealing meat.
Right, we're attending at Wilmslow police station with Richard for part of his bail, as he was arrested last month, about the 22nd of February or March, I think it was. So he was re-bailed pending further inquiries, so we're attending as per the police instructions in accordance with his bail today. So we're going to go in Wilmslow and find out what action is to be taken, if any, against Richard by the police.
What do you hope to happen today then?
Well, I would hope, given what he stated in interview at the initial interview, that he will be no further action or refuse charge, because he's put a very plausible defence forward in respect to the allegations, which is a theft allegation.
What exactly are you alleged to have done?
Well, I'm alleged to have stolen some food products from a supermarket, but I hadn't actually stolen it. I'd got it out of the skip at the back, which I'd done in the past, and I've actually had permission to do so by one of the members of staff at one point. I've been stopped on my way home with it, and they've decided to arrest me and charge me with stealing it. So.
What are you going to plead when you go in then? What have you not guilty?
Not guilty, yeah.
And what kind of products were they? What?
It was bacon and gammon.
And have they done you for anything like this before? Is this a new thing, or?
No, it's the first time I've been arrested for anything like this, yeah.
So how do you feel coming here today then?
Well, I'm just hoping it'll all get cleared up. I mean, I can see where they're coming from. If I've got a boot full of gear, you know, they're gonna suspect something, aren't they? But.
And what do you hope for the outcome to be today then?
I hope for the charges to be dropped, because I've obviously committed no crimes, as far as I'm concerned.
Traffic management. Stand there, please.
Hi, Richard Bonna for his retail.
Right, okay, Richard. Do you want to through?
Meanwhile, senior partner Alistair Fernie has his own unusual case to deal with.
Hi, Miss Brown.
An injury compensation claim on behalf of a client who's since died of cancer.
We're here to see Mrs. Brown, who's acting on behalf of her late husband's estate. He actually had an accident about 18 months or so ago now, and unfortunately he actually died. So his actual wife is now pursuing the claim on the estate's behalf. We've got to the stage now where we've been negotiating for a little while, and we've received an offer which looks like we've got to give some serious consideration to. So the idea today is to go through that with Mrs. Brown and to take it from there.
Nice to actually meet you, Mr. Brown. I've actually spoken a few times on the phone.
Yeah.
We've got to the point now in your claim whereby we've got an offer of £6,300.
Right.
Which we need to think about what we're going to actually do with that, whether or not to accept it, look to get some, look to push on to actually perhaps look to see if we can recover greater damages. I mean, first of all, in terms of what we're actually looking at here, of course, we're looking at what the value of your husband's claim was at the time that he actually died.
Yes. Yeah.
So we can only actually look to see what his claim is actually worth at that time. We can't look to see what might have happened.
Yeah,
We've got to look at what did happen.
Yeah, I understand
so
that,
from that point of view, that inevitably will reduce the value of the claim as compared to if he lived for a number of years longer.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those quirks of the way that things work, really, that it leads to sort of there being inevitably a deduction in terms of valuation. So it's something we've got to unfortunately live with.
Yes.
I know that you've been ill before the accident.
Yeah, he was,
although
yes.
I understand that he was he was okay at the time of the accident, but before
right,
then, he'd been through really a horrible time, really.
Yes, he had.
Now he'd actually pretty much received the all clear, I think.
He had. He'd had cancer twice, bowel cancer and what's the other one?
Bladder.
Yeah, bladder. Sorry, yeah. And but he'd been going back to the hospital, and basically he'd got the all clear. We were going on to 6 months and 12 months before he was seen again. So at the time of the accident, he was. He was just going to the hospital for his normal checkups.
Oh, that's what he wasn't actually doing that on the day of the accident, was it?
No, not on the day of the accident. So, I mean, the actual cancer, they'd actually got rid of what he'd already gone through with,
I'm sort of very much aware that the only thing that we can do for the purpose of the claim is look to recover money, and that's, it's obviously it's nice to have some money, but it's obviously it's not the most important thing, is it?
No, it isn't.
No,
I'd rather it had never happened,
Yeah, well,
to be truthful with you, I mean, I know it wouldn't have stopped the cancer, but I mean, at least, well, I don't know, we always say that, don't we? You just, I don't know, but at least we would have had that time together, and, it would have been...
We've had a quality time, wouldn't it, I suppose?
Yeah,
and that's,
because, I mean, over the past years he has suffered, and, it would have just been nice to look back on that time, like our last Christmas and everything, as a sort of really happy time, instead of him was sat there with his leg up.
No,
so, but anyhow, it wasn't to be, so that was it.
As Viv Brown considers whether to accept the compensation offer, the theft of meat case at Wythenshawe takes another strange twist. Officers aren't happy with another item found in the client's possession, a bag of Russian rubles.
Hi.
Situation now then?
Well, we've been rebailed until the 11th of May at 12 o'clock to come back to the police station because CPS have taking advice, giving the police some advice, which is part of the shadow charging policy in respect of the Russian rubles bonds that were seized from Mr. Bonna's car. They're going to be returned to him because they've been eliminated from the inquiry.
They were just in the boot of my car, and they were my stepdad's originally, and he died last year, and he'd left them to me. And I'd recently, just before they stopped me, the police stopped me, I'd had them valued. So that's why they were in my car, and with them having a different name and address on than mine, they've decided that I've stolen them. And
Richard was kept in custody for approximately about 20 hours as well. So he was arrested, say, on a Saturday and released like the evening of the Sunday in order for the police to make full inquiries into obviously where this meat came from, CCTV footage to obviously peruse and have a look at to see if there was any incriminating evidence on there. In effect to that, the police also impounded his car, which he was seized, in which the client has had to obviously pay to have taken out of impoundation, which cost, I think it was £105, which he had to pay to get his car back. And again, it's just sort of delaying the process to have the matter all dealt with, done and dusted, to allow him to get on with his life, really.
It's a hell of a long time and quite a lot of money for a bit of meat, really.
Of course it is, yeah. Like Richard's rightly said, yes, you can appreciate the way the police are coming from. If you've got approximately £150 worth of bacon and pork products in the rear of your car, it's going to look suspicious, but Richard put something forward in interview which the police should be acting on. They've done the right thing and gone to the CPS to seek advice. However, we'd have thought it should have been well done and dusted by now without all the added offences in respect of this car and obviously the rubles tagged on the end of it. It's like the wish to put something against him, if not the meat, something else.
Back with Viv Brown's compensation claim on behalf of her late husband, and she's made the decision to accept the offer.
I'm going to get in touch with the defence insurers on the phone. They should be able to get back to me within a matter of days. It's then a matter of tying everything up, and it's a matter of actually getting the cheque through. That's always can be fun and games, trying to get the cheque through. Some insurers are very good, and you can actually sometimes get a cheque through within 1 or 2 weeks. I have had situations where, for one reason or another, defence insurers have actually taken 2-3 months sometimes. But on average, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks, and I see no reason why it should be any different for Mrs. Brown.
In terms of the amount of time it takes from making a claim to actually getting the final payment, it is a long time anyway.
It is,
what do you
yes.
think about that?
I think it could be a lot shorter. I just think there's a lot of toing and froing in between, where they don't make decisions quickly. But I think in a lot of cases it is their solicitors, because Alistair was always on top of it as far as I was concerned, and there was times where he'd actually written them, they didn't respond for about 4 months, so I just feel that, it was them that was dragging their feet, really, and I just think, it should be done and dusted quicker than this. Yeah.
Well, now it is done and dusted, almost. Do you have any plans of what to do with the cash?
A new bathroom. That's what John wanted. So a new bathroom. Yeah. For him.
The Classic War Movie Collection on DVD. Issue 1, Bridge on the River Kwai, at newsagents now just $2.99.
Nearly 3 weeks after his last visit to Wythenshawe Police Station, in connection with missing meat and suspicious ruble bonds, Richard Bonna has had all charges against him dropped.
I've been at Wythenshawe Police Station this morning answering to bail because I got arrested about 2 months ago now. I got stopped in Wythenshawe and arrested for various things. They took a few of my personal effects off me and decided I'd stolen those. And I had a bit of meat in a plastic bag, and they decided I'd shoplifted those as well. So I've been in this morning to find out whether I'm going to be committed to court or not, and they've dropped all charges. So.
How come they've just suddenly decided to drop the charges? What happened?
Well, it was all a bit farcical in the first place. They were grabbing at straws to start with, you know, obviously taking my own things out of my car and trying to do me for stealing them, you know. But they were trying to say that I'd shoplifted the meat that I had with me, and that I'd stolen. I had some bonds that had been left off a relative who died, and they're trying to do me for stealing those as well.
How did they find you? What was the situation when they found you?
They said I was driving. They were in front of me in an unmarked car. I was driving, and they said I was driving too close to them. So they've pulled in, and I've overtaken them. And they followed me for about another mile, really close to my bumper. And then it was on the lane, so it's come to a safe point for them to stop me. And they've stopped me and rifled through my car. They must have been bored, I don't know.
What about from a personal point of view? You know, obviously you're not guilty, as you say.
Yeah.
So, how does it feel to have been taken through all this?
Well, it's a bit disillusioning, really. It makes you wonder what the police are doing, harassing people that have done nothing when they should be out there doing more, chasing more serious crimes, wouldn't you?
What are you going to do now, mate? What's your plans today?
Go to the pub and have a drink. Celebrate.
At Wythenshawe Civic Centre, boss Steve Tranter, along with advocate Angelo Saponier, are booked to appear on the local radio station Wythenshawe FM to talk on the show's legal hour.
Yes, it is the legal hour here, and we've got Tranters here in the studio with me. Hello, Steve and Angela.
Hello, Jason.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Right, we're going to be talking about ASBOs today. We're going to be talking about what rights you have when you're in a police station. What does ASBO actually stand for? Just say, for instance, someone had put a complaint against me because I'd been playing my music loud. Could you get an ASBO for playing your music loud? How do you defend someone who's being accused of doing something really, really bad, like being a paedophile, or being a murderer, or I don't know, maybe all the really horrible things that go on in the world, I suppose.